Okay, so the next problem. We are ready for 5B. The tangent of negative 240 degrees. Okay, here we go. Negative. Megan, what does it mean when I have a negative angle? I go down. When I measure my angle, I go down. So this is always 0. This would be negative 90, negative 180, negative 270, negative 360. Now I want negative 240. So I need to figure out where I'm going to put negative 240. What do you think? Here's 180, here's 270. Wouldn't negative 240 be like right here? If that's 270 and that's 180, 240's in there somewhere. So there's my butterfly bow tie triangle. Now, that triangle uses this side, which is 180, and it uses this side, which is 240. What is the angle between 180 and 240? 60? 240 minus 180?
Yeah.
Look at that. If that's 180 and that's 240, how many degrees did we have to go? 60. So this is root 3, this is 1, and this is 2. Is anything negative? The 1 is negative. Now I want the tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So the answer to the problem is root 3 over 1, negative root 3. Wow, you're doing this without a calculator, kids. That's pretty impressive. Here we go, next one.
So we actually don't even need a calculator.
Not if the angles are special. And there are lots of special angles. If you can draw them and make a 30, 60, or 45, it's
Oh,
special.
so like they come out so they're not.
Yeah, then you need a calculator.
But can't we like, oh, we're doing singles.
Yep. So the tangent of 5 pi over 4. Now, that's a radian measure. Pi is 180 divided by 4. You may know what pi over 4 is, but anyway, that's 45. And 45 times 5 is 225. So this is another positive. So it's going this way. And it's 225, which would put it right here. So I'm going to make my triangle. Remember, every triangle you make has to be one of these. Don't make any other triangle. Now, can you figure out how big that angle is right there? Just look at the setup. This is 180. That's 225. It's got to be a 45 in there, doesn't it? Think of this as a slice of pie. How big is that angle if it's between 180 and 225? I mean pie as the bakery thing. What are the sides? 1, 1, root 2. Biggest mistake that's made is we forget the negatives. So look at it carefully. Is anything in there negative?
Yes.
Both of the ones are negative. Why are the ones both negative? Because it's on the negative side of the x-axis and the negative side of the y-axis. It's left and down, and that means negative. I want the tangent. What's the definition of tangent? Opposite over adjacent, which would be -1 over -1, which is +1. Perfect. You're starting to get the hang of it a little bit. Let's try the next one. Cosecant 3 pi over 4. Let's go through this step by step. Zion! We are going to go through this step by step, and I want everyone to know what's going on. So if at any step you are confused, you need to let us know. So here's the problem. What is the first step we're going to do? We're going to change it into degrees. So that's 180. 180 divided by 4 is 45. We've done that a lot. And 3 45s would be 135. So this is the cosecant of 135. With us? All right, so now the next step, I'll draw 135. Now I like to use a circle, you don't have to. I'm going to draw a triangle. Now it's 135 though, so I got to get it in the right spot, which would be over here. Wouldn't this be 135, kids? So there is my angle, there is my triangle. Everybody got a picture that looks like this? Now I need this angle. Remember, the angle you have to find is the one at the origin. Look at this piece of pie right here. It's formed by the 135 line and the 180 line. How much is between the 135 and the 180? 45. What are the sides of a 45, 45, 90? 1, 1, root 2. -1 down here. Very good. We always, always, always got to make sure we put in the negatives. The only time you don't have to worry about it is if you're in quadrant 1. Everybody's still with us. Then we say, okay, what's the cosecant? Cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite, which for us would be root 2 over 1. So the answer is root 2.
What?
All right, now here's a little hint. You may have already picked up on this. When you have something over 4, your reference angle is always going to be 45. If you had pi over 3, your reference angle would be 60. And if you have pi over 6, it will be 30, always. All right, so there's 2 more. So let's see how you can do with E by yourself. So would you try E by yourself? Get as far as you can get. Now I'll work on it up here in a minute, but you try it first. Sine 7 pi over 6. So see if you can remember those steps that we just went through. That's you too, Corey, please. Mason, you doing it? Just because you got a perfect quiz doesn't mean you're got a free pass. Francie, what angle did you get for 7 pi over 6?
Oh, I did 180 divided by 6, I got 30.
Times 7?
Times 7, I got
210?
210.
Yeah. So we have a 210 degree angle. Anybody have a question about 210? Everybody get 210? So hopefully you drew it down here like this. You put your 210 down here between 180 and 270. Now, I need this angle formed by the 180 line and the 210 line. How far is it from 180 to 210? 30. A minute ago, Mrs. Ford gave you a hint. See how that bottom is a 6? When the bottom is a 6, that's always going to be 30, because pi over 6 is 30. No, because that would be this triangle. That would be this angle, which is not the triangle you want. You have to use 180. You'll never use 270 or 90, because your triangles always sit on the 180 or the 360 line. You're never going to use these, ever. All right, did you put 1 root 3, 2? And mark those both negative? Opposite over hypotenuse, you should have gotten negative 1/2. How many of you got that all by yourselves? That is wonderful news. Good work. Good work. Evan, Dawn, you doing this?
Yeah.
You didn't get negative 1/2 though?
I did not.
Did you find your mistake?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got one more chance. Cotangent 5 pi over 3. Cotangent 5 pi over 3. Rylan Harvey, you got the degree measure for me yet? Nope. What's 180 divided by 3?
It's 300 degrees.
60. 60 times 5. Oh, 300. So this is a 300 degree angle, which puts me over here. Judah, what's this angle right here? Right here, we call it our reference angle right there. 60, very good. And like I said before, that's a 3. Pi over 3 is 60. Your reference angle is going to be 60. Just like pi over 6 is 30, so my reference angle was 30. That will always be the case. So we have root 3, 1, and 2, and that one's negative. Cotangent, you're right, is adjacent over opposite. Negative root 3 over 3 is our final answer. If you can do that, you're doing great, because there's a lot to know when we do that. Chase, is your hand up, sweetie? All right, so we're good? Now, the next problems are the same thing, except there's a slight difference. We're finding the sine and cosine and stuff for 90. What is different about 90? It doesn't do the butterfly. So 90 is up here. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And I can't do the butterfly. What did we do yesterday when we couldn't do the butterfly? Do you remember? We drew a circle, and then we looked at what is my X, what is my Y, and what is my R. Now yesterday that was a lot easier because I gave you a point. I said, like, use the point 0, 2. So you just went up 2, so you knew X was 0, Y was 2. I'm not giving you any points. I'm just telling you that's the point I'm interested in, 90 degrees. here's the fun part. You get to make up whatever radius you want. Now, personally, being the lazy bum that I am, I use 1 because 1 is the easiest number to work with. So I always say, I'm gonna let my radius be 1. If I do that, if my radius is 1, then what are the coordinates of this point? If this is 1, then what's this point?
0.
0, 1. So my x is 0 and my y is 1. I promise you that your answers are going to be right, no matter what radius you use. If I use 1 and you use 2 and you use 7 and you use root 13, we're all going to get the same answer. So I encourage you to use 1. It's just easier. Now if I know that x is 0, y is 1, and r is 1, then I can tell you what the sign is. Because I know sine is y over r. So y over r would be 1 over 1, which is 1. And cosine is x over r, which is 0 over 1, which is 0. And tangent is y over x, I hate to interfere, y over x, which is 1 over 0, which is undefined. Now that can be a little bit tricky. Please don't let it be. Let your radius, if they don't tell you what the point is, if they don't give you a number, then you make the radius 1. So now we're doing negative 180. Where is negative 180? Let's see. Guadalupe, you awake back there? Where's negative 180? Up top? You think? Left side? Any other ideas? Zion says right side? No?
Yeah, right side.
Right side?
That's
Left side?
negative.
Remember, negative means we go this way, right? So this is 0, this is negative 90, right here is negative 180, right there. In fact, negative 180 is in the same place as positive 180, because 180 is halfway around. All right, so here we go. Can't make a triangle. We're on the axis. This is what we call one of those quadrantal angles. I'm going to let my radius be 1. So with that distance, here's the origin. If that distance is 1, what are the coordinates of this point? Negative 1, 0. Come on, kids, you know how to do this. If you start right here and you walk left 1, you would be at negative 1, 0, right? So x is negative 1, y is 0, and r is 1. Sine is y over r, cosine is x over r, tangent's y over x. Mrs. Ford, how do you know that? I memorized it. So, what's my sine? 0 over 1. What's my cosine? Negative 1 over 1, which is negative 1, you're right. And what's my tangent? Y over x, which is 0.
No triangle. There wouldn't be a bow tie.
No, you can't butterfly bow tie a quadrantal angle.
So how do you draw it?
You can't draw
Right,
it.
you can't.
This is how you do it. This is the only way you do it.
Oh, because isn't with the RV at the order? Where's that?
The R, there is no R because R and X can't match, and it would in that case, so you can't, there's no triangle. Alright? Will you do the next one for me on your own? You're doing 3 pi over 2. You might remember from our work over there where 3 pi over 2 is, but if you don't remember where it is, go ahead and change it to degrees, and then you'll know. You gotta hurry, we gotta get through this next one. Do you have 3 pi over 2 right down here at 270? And if I let my radius be 1, then what would be this point right here? If the radius, here's the origin, if the radius is 1, what would be this point? 0, negative 1? So x is 0 and y is negative 1. Here we go. Y over r, x over r, y over x. Here we go. Sine is negative 1. Cosine is not 1. Cosine is 0. X over r, 0 over 1. Tangent is y over x, which is undefined. You can't sit on the edge. You can't have a 0 in the bottom, which is what you have. All right, last one. Gotta get it done. Nobody leaves till we're done with it. Here is your degree. There's 0. If the radius is 1, what are the coordinates of that point? 1, 0. Perfect. So x is 1, y is 0. Y over r, x over r, y over x. Here we go. Y over r. Y over r is 0. X over r, 1. Very good. Tangent y over x, which isn't undefined, it is 0 because the 0 is on top. All right? We won't have a quiz next time, but my guess is we'll have one time after that.
You say that all the time. Yeah, but it's different. You don't say that to girls. Caroline, did you do it's senior year. Like if you're gonna you basically have to have a relationship. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you, Armand.
That's different. That's a different breed.
Yeah, it's a different
It's a different breed.
yeah, it's a different breed.
Have a good day. Lori. I already got it on Thursday.
Wednesday?
It's only Tuesday.
Oh, that's Tuesday?
Today's Tuesday.
We both just thought it was Wednesday.
I thought it was Thursday.
Thought it was Tuesday. Today is going by, or this week is going by.
You know what I think? I'm thinking that it's day 6, and I'm thinking day 7 should be Friday.
Yeah, true.
Of course it's not, but it's.
Maybe we'll get a day on Friday because all this slush or whatever we can. We got a 4-day or a 3-day weekend.
Yes, you do. You don't have school.
And then I come Tuesday and then I got a senior retreat.
So it is next week. I knew it was coming up.
I got a senior retreat in February. Are you going to take one up?
Is it the February one that's, the days are different?
Yeah, it's on a Monday instead of a Tuesday. And then it goes from Monday to Thursday.
That's interesting.
That is kind of.
Which I kinda hate because they'll all miss school
I
today,
know,
because I'll be
I
exhausted.
think I'm on that one.
They'll all miss school, because I'll be exhausted. I thought today was Thursday. I don't know what was wrong with me. But I really thought it was Thursday.
I had to be like really bad and figured out it was on a Tuesday.
Everybody is super slow.
Yeah, I think she's not here again. And there's a Simon on school too. Is she here today? She's not back?
I think she might be here tomorrow.
Is she sick?
Yeah, she is.
Like real like just like a cold sick or like sick sick?
She's pretty sick. I'm not sure exactly what's wrong with her, but anyway, it's
Are you teaching us today?
upset. There's some crazy stuff going on.
You are teaching us today?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Who's in the Simon? What's wrong with this? She's sick. She's sick.
I see. I didn't take it, but I don't know why.
I didn't see.
Are you gonna sit there?
That's why it's here. This one's sitting there. This one is.
But I forgot to turn it on.
Yeah.
It's all right.
You guys leave this way?
We're going to the.
Today? What time are you doing?